Today, I'll share 5 of the things I wish I knew as a kid, so you can avoid making some of the same mistakes that I did. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's do it.
To help me out, I brought my friend Phil, who's also, sorry buddy, an experienced bowler. See, the thing is that when you get older, you realize all of the things you should have done and learned as a kid in order to really get better. So learn from my mistakes, and probably Phil made the same too, and hopefully these hints will help you evolving into a better football player. Now, the first thing I wish I knew as a kid is to not be afraid of failing. Now, actually, I used to be, believe it or not, a goalkeeper for my first many years. And that meant that when I finally moved outfield, my technique wasn't the best, to say the least. And that also meant that I almost never succeeded when I took on players or tried anything remotely fancy. But that's the deal with taking risks. At first, you're probably gonna fail because you've never done it before and you're thus likely not very good at it. But if you do it again, and again, and again, and again, your body becomes accustomed to it, you'll learn, you become good at it, to the point where it's actually not that big of a risk anymore. So, if I got the ball and faced a defender, I would actually, as a kid, rather just pass it to my teammate than take on Phil in a 1-versus-1 situation, because failing in these situations was one of the things I dreaded the most. In other words, I'd actually just rather play it safe and be an alibi player, which is not a very good look, rather than take a risk, be okay with failing once in a while, and then actually improve as a football player in the process. And that's the thing you need to remember. Football is a fun game. We're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to want the ball and not take everything too seriously, because remember that in order to improve, you need to get out of your comfort zone and try new things. So wait! Now, another thing I really wish I'd known as a kid was that I need to develop my weak foot. See, none of my coaches back then were too focused on it, so I didn't spend much time on actually using my weak foot either. And that was another aspect of it, because using my weak foot meant failure more often than not, and I didn't like that, so I never did it. I did, however, have a friend who actually stayed behind after each training to shoot with his left foot, and he ended up being really good with both. So don't make the mistake I did. Go out, actually use your weak foot, develop it, make it better, because having 2 good feet is gonna make you a better football player. And if you want to know how to do that, I've actually made a tutorial on it very recently that's gonna pop up on the screen, which you should really go and watch. Another thing I've had to work a lot on, because I never spent time on it as a kid, is to keep a cool head. And I really wish someone had told me back then to slow things down, and again, to not get too nervous or overthink things when I'm on the pitch. Of course, these days I'm getting older and more experienced, and I know that I'm a good football player, so I can trust my instincts to take over and most of the time do the right thing. But man, it would have been so good for my development if someone had just told me to keep it cool and not be too nervous when I'm on the pitch, because it would have saved me a lot of unnecessary time just getting my composure at the right spot. And I could have spent that developing, well, so much more to my game. So remember, football is just a game. It's supposed to be fun, and you're probably already a pretty good player, so just keep it cool, don't take it too seriously, and it's all gonna work out. But I think that one of the reasons that I sometimes rushed things and didn't keep a cool head was because I made one of the big mistakes that turned good footballers into average players, because I didn't look up. And that meant that when the ball came to me, I had absolutely no clue where my teammates were, where the opposition was. So basically, when I received the pass, I didn't know what to do, and I had to make a decision on the spot that was often rushed and panicked and often fairly pretty rubbish. So what I should have done was that when I didn't have the ball, I would look around on the pitch, orientate myself constantly, so when I got the pass, I would know where my options were, have 2-3 options, so I could focus on making a good touch and actually setting myself nicely up for the play after that. And that would have made me a million times better player. Phil. Finally, I found out just how important it is to communicate with your teammates? As a kid, I said nothing. I was silent as the grave, but as I've gotten older, I've learned just how much easier it is to play football when you talk to each other as a team. So these days, I'm just constantly screaming and shouting when I'm running around on the pitch. And I basically demand from my teammates that if you have a teammate in front of you, it's your job to tell him to either push up or fall back a little or go left or go right. Because your team, you have to help each other and it has to happen. You have to speak up. So remember that and just start off with the easy left-right calls of which channel you want them to close off. And eventually you're gonna feel more confident speaking up on the pitch, directing your teammates, and that increases your value as a player.
Apart from the stuff that Jay said, I really want to jump in and talk about focus, because when I was a kid, I spent 2 years focusing on freestyle and football. But if you want to excel in either of those things, you need to focus 100% on that sport. I didn't. It took me 2 years to realize, and here I am as a freestyler. But what could have happened if I spent all my time on playing football? Who knows? And it goes without saying, don't spend unnecessary time on unnecessary stuff.
So there you have it, my friends. Some of the things I wish I knew as a kid about football and growing as a player. And then, of course, a little side note on freestyle from your Uncle Phil. But try and avoid making the same mistakes that we did. So hopefully it can help you in growing as a football player. But what are the things you wish you'd have known as a kid? Well, as always, tell us in the comment section right down below. Go and cop some wicked Adidas locality pack football boots right over there from Unisport.com. Don't forget to go subscribe to the channel with the notifications on for more wicked videos, and then go and learn how to improve as a football player in the playlist right down there. With that said, guys, we're signing off. Cheerio.